The line in 2026, why construction stopped from 12 days ago. By the way, for the ones who don't know, the line is a project in Saudi Arabia where they wanted to build a city. It's a straight line. Yep. I wonder why that project didn't come to fruition. I wonder why. Maybe because it's too expensive and no one wants to live there. To be fair, who would want to live there? I didn't. I wouldn't want to live there. Fuck that.
Back in November, several news reports from around the world surfaced, all pointing to one thing. Saudi Arabia had stopped construction on its most ambitious mega project, the line. Tens of billions have already been spent, entire landscapes have been—
Wait, tens of billions? Oh no. Oh no, why would you? Well, it's hubris. It's hubris. I would have never even started a project like that. I wouldn't have even planned something like that. With that money, they could have literally put mangroves at the coasts. So to have a breeding area for fish and birds, things like that. And, you know, that would have actually might have been a really good thing to do. For food production, you know? This way you can literally have a fishing industry. Imagine having fresh fish all the time. But now, they don't do that.
Reshaped, and thousands of people have been displaced. Was it all for nothing?
Yes.
Hey, my name is Luis, and today we're breaking down where things go from here. And we'll also see what that means for the rest of NEOM and the 2034 World Cup.
Wait, 2034? Oh my god, that's literally 8 years in the future. Jesus.
The line, as it is right now, isn't moving forward the way it was just a few years ago. After years of promotional videos and massive excavation works, construction on the project has effectively stalled. And there are many good reasons why it has eventually come to this point. Originally envisioned as a 170-kilometer linear megacity, the line has already—
Which is stupid. It's a stupid. It makes no sense to build something like that. At least not on a planet. And especially not on Earth. Makes no sense.
been dramatically scaled back over the past 2 years.
Oh.
Many of you pointed out in the comments how this project was likely doomed from the very beginning. And you were right. While Saudi Arabia continued revealing new regions from 2023 to 2024, behind the scenes, NEOM was heading closer and closer to its inevitable end. According to a new report from the Financial Times, insiders say that NEOM's board would make decisions about the project solely based on 3D renderings. Everything else—
Wait, NEOM board would make decisions based on renderings? Oh no. That's retarded? Why would you do that? How incompetent do you have to be? Oh no, you are retarded.
Including the detailed design work and feasibility studies, were alarmingly left out. The source also said that Mohammed bin Salman himself played a huge role in shaping what would eventually become the line. In fact, most, if not all of the line's absurdity, from its unrealistic scale to the unconventional design itself, all came personally from MBS. Once real-world constraints entered the picture, the gap between what looked amazing in 3D renders and what was actually buildable—
The thing, it doesn't even look amazing in 3D renders. It doesn't. And look at the landscape. The landscape looks great. This looks nice. But then you build something stupid in there.
became impossible to ignore. Developers working on the line itself knew that what they were building was never really going to work. But they kept going, at least for a while. Even with Saudi Arabia's vast financial resources—
And that's also a thing. If the people that are working on it already say that, yeah, that this shit ain't working, you know a project is doomed.
With the public investment fund, the sheer cost and complexity of the line was spiraling far beyond initial projections. It also didn't help that foreign investment was drying up. One risk analyst said,
"Why would you even invest in that in the first place? Why? Wouldn't you look at it and go like, yeah, this is retarded?" Because I look at that and I go, yeah, this is retarded. I wouldn't do that. That's stupid. Completely stupid.
That investors were just simply not buying into the Crown Prince's vision for Saudi Arabia. By 2024, internal restructuring at NEOM signaled a shift in priorities. Senior leadership changes, tighter financial controls, and a growing focus on deliverable projects suggested that the original vision for the line was being quietly reassessed. In our video last year, we talked about how top NEOM executives suddenly departed from the project. Now, we know that several other firms and groups left the project altogether, following reports of scaling down. This includes architect firms such as MorphoSys, AJ Associates, and HOK. A year after that, it was also reported that NEOM as a whole was planning to lay off more than 1,000 workers.
Oh.
And yet, by that point, excavation work had progressed significantly. Satellite images and drone footage confirmed that large-scale excavation and groundwork had taken place along much of the planned route. Various communities, factories, and energy farms were also built for the project, especially around the area where phase 1 of the project was supposed to rise here in Gayal. They've even begun the world's largest piling project as well as the largest dewatering setup in the world to prepare the site.
Imagine dewatering a landscape that's a fucking desert. Isn't that... Now, that's ironic. That's purely ironic. No, not ironic. Yes, ironic. I'm forgetting the meaning of words. It's the age.
In other words, this wasn't just your simple prep work before construction. This was expansive and irreversible groundwork. Financially, the commitment was just as real. While exact figures are hard to pin down, multiple reports suggest that around $50 billion have already been spent on the line and NEOM's core infrastructure. And that's before vertical construction has even properly begun.
Wow.
As cost estimates for NEOM's full end state now ballooned into the trillions of dollars, the logic became unavoidable.
Why would you even... What? I don't even understand why you would want to build something like that. It makes zero sense. It would literally make more sense to build a city in this mountain. Literally in this mountain here. Just build a city in there. That would make more sense. This is completely stupid.
Saudi Arabia had to choose between continuing an all-or-nothing gamble or slowing down and reassessing what could realistically be delivered. That reassessment is what brings us to today. By late 2025, investigative reporting revealed what the construction site had already been hinting at for months. Even the project CEO stopped posting updates altogether on his LinkedIn page. Work on the line, at least in its original form, was no longer progressing. It didn't just simply fail. Many already predicted that. The line simply collided.
Oh yeah, you could predict that. You could have predicted that the first time it was talked about. You could have predicted that. Because the thing is, it's not even too good to be true. It's bad. It's a bad idea. The idea in itself is already bad. It makes zero sense to build something like that. It has no purpose whatsoever.
With reality. We all heard the headline numbers before. 170 kilometers long, 200 meters wide, 500 meters tall. But those figures alone don't paint the entire picture. To fully understand the challenge of building the line, let's take a look at one specific detail. By now, we've all seen renders of the line with its shiny mirrored exterior. But have you ever actually stopped and thought about just how much glass all that is going to take? Let's run the numbers. This is the Moriah Concert Hall. Currently, it's the largest mirrored building in the world. Creating mirrors is quite simple. But building them in such an environment was not an easy feat. For one, each panel had to be almost completely the same in terms of shape and smoothness
Of
to
course.
ensure that it would look like one giant mirror.
Well, yes. I mean, we already knew that when we were looking at it. We already knew that. That's not anything outstanding.
From afar. This requires very careful precision and specialized tools in order to accomplish. But on top of that, they also had to put tiny spaces in between each panel to give them enough room to expand and contract because of the desert temperature. These
Yes.
spaces had to be close enough that the facade would still look like one piece from afar, but not too tight for them to crack as they expand in the desert's heat. In total, Moriah Concert Hall is covered by 9,740 square meters of mirrored glass.
Oh.
Compared to the line, well, it's quite frankly not even close. The line in its entirety would require 170 million square meters of mirrored glass.
Oh,
That's
boy.
more than 17,000 times the amount of glass used in Moriah.
Can you even... Do we have even enough sand to make all these mirrors? Like in general on a fucking planet. I think there might not be enough sand to do that. And yes, sand, because glass is made out of sand, fundamentally.
The current record holder. It also would have taken the entire annual production of the world's largest cladding manufacturer for just one 800-meter module. At that rate, the entire facade would have taken 200 years. NEOM's chief investment officer even said that at one point, the line was using about 20% of the entire world's steel production. And that
Wow.
was just the foundation work.
Wow, 20% of the world's steel production. That's a lot. Holy crap. Yeah. That's when you know, maybe we are too, maybe we are a little bit over ambitious. Maybe a little bit, you know, a little bit.
Even if they did manage to find the money to secure all these materials, the prices would eventually skyrocket.
Yeah,
as
of
the
course.
project would eat up a huge chunk of the entire world's supply. Yeah, that's the scale of the line. And Saudi's crown prince wanted to build it in less than a decade.
Yeah, that's impossible.
But this now raises a much bigger question. If the line is cancelled altogether, what happens next? Well, for one, the
question.
majority of the 170-kilometer trench they have already dug up will probably remain like that for decades to come. But it doesn't end there. They also built a lot of surrounding infrastructure. Some of the factories constructed were purposefully built for creating prefabricated parts for the line. This precast concrete factory, for example, was
Right.
solely built for the project's construction. And if it isn't happening anymore, there's no reason for them to continue existing. Other facilities could probably
Yeah, that's... Wow. This is so dumb. This is so dumb. I would hope that they can do something with the factories, you know, that they built. Maybe repurpose them to produce something else. I don't know.
continue operations, such as this gas processing plant or this site for aggregate crushing. The end products that these facilities create can be used for many different applications outside of the
Exactly.
line's construction. In the case of the energy farms, they could be connected to the rest of Saudi Arabia's grid. Although that could be quite difficult given how remote the entire project is. Entirely new energy corridors will need to be constructed for them to be useful. For the
Yeah.
airport they were planning to build for the line, it's almost certainly not going to be built anymore. It's located here in the middle of nowhere, and
Yeah.
there would be no need for
You don't build an airport and nothing is there. It makes zero sense.
a massive airport in a place like that. As for the communities, they now face an uncertain future. With activity slowing down, many of the workers hired for the project, most of them contractual and overseas, will probably be reassigned, relocated, or sent home as their contracts expire. One possible option they could do with some of these communities is to reuse them for the upcoming 2034 FIFA World Cup.
Yeah.
The kingdom has already committed to hosting the games, and that date is fixed. It can't be quietly pushed back.
Oh, 34? Not 35, it's 34? Okay.
These communities could then be used to house workers for the construction and operation of a potential Neom Stadium. This venue was planned to be built on top of the line, hundreds of meters above the ground.
So stupid.
But with the project already stopped at this point, Neom Stadium is no longer going to be built, at least in the way
That's what I expected. Yeah, makes sense.
they showcased it in renders. It will probably be replaced by another venue out of the remaining 14 stadiums Saudi Arabia had planned for the event. Another thing they could do is to just build a Neom Stadium on the ground, somewhere near or along the line. This way, some of the infrastructure built, such as roads, communities and energy farms, could be used for the stadium instead.
Yeah,
But then
still.
again, why would you want to have a stadium in the middle of nowhere?
Exactly.
Now that we
Makes
heard
no
about
sense.
the line's fate, what will happen to the rest of Neom? Let's start with Sindala, Neom's luxury island destination.
Oh no.
It's one of the few easier projects to construct since nothing is out of the ordinary. Luxurious, yes, but that's about it. Up to this day, the island still not has opened to the public, and some
Oh.
reports are saying it might even stay that way for some time.
Oh no.
The Crown Prince allegedly
They couldn't even finish that island? Really? They couldn't even finish that? Why? It's just an island. It's not even that big? Oh, come on.
deemed the project out of line with his expectations and ordered to close it. And the golf courses we talked about in a previous video are no longer as green as they were 2 years ago.
Of course not.
This indicates that the facilities are left unused, or at least not being maintained. Oxagon, on the other hand, is a little more unknown when it comes to construction progress. Aside from a green hydrogen plant that's reportedly 80% complete, the main floating island has seen little to no progress. At least when looking
Of course not. I mean, why would you even build that in the first place? It makes no sense. You have all this land and you want to build on the water, a floating thing. Great. Great idea.
at satellite images. Despite this, the port of Neom itself has seen some movement over the past year. Satellite images reveal an expanded port area. A Belgian construction company was responsible for most of this progress. Currently, the port is expected to open full container terminal operations starting 2026. And
Okay.
Trojena? Well, I was just
So they finished that because it's actually useful in general. That's a good thing.
about to record this voiceover when it was announced that Kazakhstan is replacing Saudi Arabia for the 2029 Asian Winter Games. The latest satellite images of the construction site show some progress over the past year. In January 2025, Trojena's executive director even said that their absolute priority was to get the venue ready for the 2029 Games. However, officials
Good.
have refused to comment on whether the project was still on track to meet the deadline. And now, they're officially backing
Oh.
away from that commitment as well. Maybe
Yeah, that thing will not happen. Look at it. Of course that will not happen. It looks too good to be true. This literally looks too good to be true. This will never happen. Oh, and we are already at the end of the video.
they'll go for the 2033 edition to have more time. But who knows? As of right now, it seems like 2026 is the year Neom finally catches up with reality. What do you think about all of this? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'm curious to read them, and thank you so much for watching.
Good
As
video.
always, we'll see you in the next one.
Good video. Good video. Yeah, I agree with what he said. Yeah, it's a complete failure. A complete failure. This is so dumb. It's incredibly dumb.